Hey, it's Friday morning, October 4th. We're at Swanee River State Park getting ready to embark on our Swanee River adventure. And we're going to do 2 nights, 3 days out on the Swanee River, and we're going to stay at the river camps that are on the Swanee River. Last night we stayed at the state park in these real nice cabins that they have. They're like $100 a night. And we're leaving both of our trucks here in a overflow parking lot. So they're here when we end our journey. We're going to start at White Springs and we're going to go 3 days and end right here at Swanee River State Park. So our vehicles will be here. So we talked to American Canoe Adventures up in White Springs area. They're an outfitter and they're going to pick us up with our kayaks and our gear and take us about an hour up to White Springs, and they're going to put us in the water, and then we're done. We're ready to go. So yeah, come along with us on this adventure and we'll show you what it's like. Okay, hey, first I wanted to show you a map of the Swanee River Wilderness Trail. And this wilderness trail, it's 171 miles. It goes from White Springs, where we begin our adventure, and empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. And that's 171 miles. Feeding into the Swanee River at the midpoint is the Ichetucknee River, which is very small. I highlighted it in red there. And also the Santa Fe rivers. Okay, we begin this adventure at White Springs, Florida. And we put in the kayaks at Stephen Foster State Park and paddle 11 miles to Woods Ferry River Camp. The next morning we get up and we paddle a full 18 miles that day, and we stay at the Holton Creek River Camp. The last day we paddled 13 miles to Swanee River State Park, where we took out. This was a total of 42 miles, and these river camps that we stay at are absolutely incredible. You need to stay at them, and they're free. Now, the river camps there's 5 of them. There's Woods Ferry, there's Holton Creek, there's Dowling Park, there's Peacock Slough, and there's Adams Track. You have to make reservations for them, though, by calling the number at the bottom of the screen. So, again, I highly recommend these. So, we're going to start at Stephen Foster State Park and put in and head on down the river. Oh, you get here, there's about a 200 yard walk maybe out to the water. So carrying the kayaks and carrying the gear and getting ready to launch right out here. The water's down low. They're kind of in a semi-drought here. So usually the water's up to where that white sand is. You can see the darker wet sand, but being that the water's down low, they said at the beginning where we start here, there may be some sandbars or some ankle deep areas that we need to get out and pull the kayaks, which is no big deal. They actually said it's kind of cool because this time of year when the wet water's down low, you can find shark's teeth and arrowheads and different artifacts which you can't take, but you can look at them and it's really cool. So that might be a plus on this trip. Time to pack up the kayak. I've done overnight kayak camping trips, but I've never done a multi-day, multi-night trip. So this is a first for me. So I painstakingly weighed everything. I was amazed at how much I could put in these Jackson Journey 14-footers. Okay, we're all loaded up. We're getting ready to go. I got about 75 pounds of gear in the Jackson Journey, and I think Mike does as well. But even with that, we packed it strategically. Still got a little bit more room in the bow, and the stern is, you know, it's got a little bit of room for a few other small items. So it's amazing what you can pack in these touring kayaks. Okay, we're ready to get this show on the road. Let's drag the kayak out and get going. love the early morning hours, just the low-level sun, the long shadows. It's just clear. It's beautiful out early in the morning, so just get a load of this. Looks like we've gone back in time. Just old Florida here on the Swanee River. Water's actually pretty clear here. What I mean is not a lot of sediment, but it's all the tannins in the water that come from the all the decaying leaves that flow from the swamps up in southern Georgia. So looking at the paddle again, you can see it's a real pretty color. Where we put in White Springs was at what they call Stephen Foster State Park, and that was quite something. They had cabins just like they had at Swanee River State Park where we were before, and real nice cabins. But there was like a plantation estate there. It's actually a museum for Stephen Foster. And who is Stephen Foster? Well, Stephen Foster was the guy that wrote the Way Down Along Swanee River, that song. Look it up. It's an old song, I don't know, back in the 30s maybe. But he wrote that. But the guide that brought us out here, it was, they said he actually never went on the Swanee River, which that's kind of a bummer. But he's very famous here. The whole park's named after him. He never went on the Swanee River. He was actually writing a song that included a river in it, but the river that he was writing and putting into the song, it didn't rhyme. So he was like, I gotta have a different river. So he actually opened up a map and he took his finger, and wherever that landed, whatever river that landed on, that's what he did. And he landed on the Swanee River. So that's how he wrote Way Down Along the Swanee River. So that's Stephen Foster. A little history trivia for you. But anyway, at that Stephen Foster State Park, there's something that looks like a big plantation, and I asked if it was his house, and they said, no, it's just a museum of all his stuff. All of his songs that he wrote, and all of his songs that he wrote, and his pianos, and just a museum about this area. Boy, I'm stuck on a sandbar, and I'm about over it. And what else was kind of cool is different times of the year they swing the park into gear, and they have like a blacksmith shop, and they have arts and crafts shops that take you back to the period times 100 years ago on how they did everything down here. So it's worth a stopping to check out. I'm sitting here taking too much time talking to you guys and not paying attention to the sandbars, so I got stuck there for a minute. But anyway, I'm in deep water now. I'm good. Rocky. That was fun. Here's our first spring here that we've seen. There's 192 springs that feed into the Swanee. This one's obviously one of the smaller ones. See how you got crystal clear water and it merges into the brackish water. Spring number 2 coming out of the earth. Oh, you did me a solid, man.
I'm looking for sharks' teeth.
That looks like a good area right there.
Yep.
I'm gonna get out here and do it at some point on one of these sandbars, but one of the guides said if you want to look for arrowheads and shark's teeth that you're not allowed to keep, you know, when you get out to these sandbars, just kind of dig down with a shovel, and if you have the foresight that I did not have, because I didn't even know it was possible, bring out with you like a sifter of some sort to put the dirt in and sift it out in the deeper water, and that's how you find the things. So just dig up the dirt, sift through it. I'm going over another sandbar again, but I made that one. But great way to, in these lower water conditions, to unearth some things that have not been unearthed for maybe hundreds of years. Our group decided to make our first stop at this sandbar to see what we could dig up. I couldn't resist the opportunity to get the drone out and fly it around to show you some of the beauty of this river. And some of that beauty can only be seen by air, although most of the beauty can be seen right down in the water in your kayak. Hey, if you like my videos and you want to follow me on my adventures, whether it's kayaking or biking, subscribe to Kayak Cliff here on YouTube, Kayak Cliff on Facebook, or on the internet, kayakcliff.com is my website. And on there are all of the links and everything to Facebook and YouTube and my website and everything. How you doing?
Hello.
Real pretty here with these limestone small little cliffs. Lots of erosion in them with little caves and caverns. Not big enough to get into, but you know, nice to look at. And it's really cool, the trees that come down. You see the big roots, but then you also see fine hair-like roots all over the place, kind of like a moss, but it's all there collecting water. Okay, we've come to Woods Ferry River Camp. This is, it's run by the Swanee River Wilderness Trail, and this is neat. You'll like it. So we'll take you up and show it, but there's docks that you pull up to, and boardwalk that you walk up the banks, and carry your stuff up to spring. We're gonna have a private screened-in pavilion. So let's paddle up here and get out and get unloaded. Because of the high banks at this point in the river, and to account for any flooding that might occur in the future with higher water levels, there's a very lengthy boardwalk that you walk up, but they give you wheelbarrows to put your stuff in, which makes it really nice. There's primitive camping up here, or to the right where we're going to go is 5 screened-in platform pavilions, and we have one of them. They're great. I highly recommend them. Again, they're free. All you have to do is reserve them at the 800 number that I have listed at the bottom of the screen. These are home in the next 2 nights. Got a ceiling fan with a light. We got power. I can recharge all of our batteries. And I think there's hammock hooks. Got 1 hammock hook. Looks like there's enough hammock hooks for the 3 of us at least. And a broom. So, boy, it's a hike up here. We got a lot to bring up. So I'm gonna start doing that. How many free places have you stayed where they actually have nice bathrooms with warm water, flushing toilets, hot showers? Well, these bathrooms at these river camps do, and they definitely do not disappoint. So this is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 of the Swanee River Wilderness Trail Adventure.